Yet, Peter? So, hello, beloved church family of the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Judith Roberts. I'm a practitioner with Oakland Center, and I am your host tonight. And I welcome you to our midweek Oasis Wednesday night service. Wednesday night Oasis is a place where we come together in community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. Most Wednesday night services build upon the theme of the previous Sunday, and that is also the case tonight. Our services are, we hold these services with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and interactive. Our annual theme for 2025 is Rising Higher, Growing Deeper. Our monthly theme for January is Stretching into Possibilities. Last Sunday, Maureen French, our practitioner, introduced ideas inspired by the talk title of Choosing Possibility. And tonight, our speaker will continue the exploration of the same topic. So as we gather tonight, I welcome you. If you're new to our community or watching our recording, please visit our homepage at www.oaklandcsl.org and click on the I'm New icon and look at the lower left-hand corner of that page to submit your email address. Once you do, you'll begin receiving the Village newsletter on Thursdays in your email. It has all the information on what is happening at the center in the coming weeks. Before we get started with the talk, please mute your own audio microphone during tonight's service. When you mute your audio, it will improve the quality of our recording and tonight's transmission, and you can leave your camera on. Please stay tuned through the end of the service to receive special and important announcements. So now I would like to introduce our speaker tonight, who is Peggy Cotton, a practitioner with the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. Peggy began her religious science journey many years ago at First Church of Religious Science under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Margaret Stortz. She is a licensed practitioner under Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman, our senior minister at the center. Peggy is a Bostonian who has made the Bay Area her home for 40 years. She's a graduate of San Francisco Art Institute with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree and completed graduate work at University of California, Berkeley, earning her a teaching credential in art and English. Peggy was the first Black woman as the senior administrative manager of Booz Allen and Hamilton, an international management consulting firm where she managed the administrative staff in the San Francisco and LA offices. She has worked for public television at KQED in San Francisco for close to 15 years as a production assistant and assistant producer. Peggy spent 10 years working at Rosenblum and Rockwall Wineries in Alameda, where she held various positions that landed her as an accountant to the chief financial officer. Early on, Peggy volunteered in the psych ward at Boston City Hospital using art activities with child cancer patients. Currently, she does commission oil paintings, teaches aspiring adult students, and has art shows from her studio at the Cotton Canvas in Berkeley at the Sawtooth Building. So Peggy, thank you in advance for being our speaker tonight. As we do with every organized event at the center, we open with prayer. And Peggy has offered to lead us in prayer this evening, open us in prayer this evening. So I'd like to turn it over now to Peggy. And then Peggy, you can just roll into your talk tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. I really appreciated you doing that. I don't know who that girl is, but I guess she's here tonight. What I'd like to do is definitely let's settle down and begin with prayer. So please just settle down, lean back, and surrender what holds your physical being as you let your spiritual cushion develop you in comfort. Let's take a deep breath together and let it out with a collective sigh. Ah. And as we do know that that one breath is the breath of all life, all thought, all realization, we know that is the breath of divine energy. And as I am one with that divine energy, this is true for everyone here, for there is nothing more real or more powerful than the divine energy within. And it is from the awareness of this truth that blessings lay blessings upon themselves, upon everyone, confirming that what transpires tonight, what is shared, what is realized together on this night, is the gift of the presence of God. And so it is. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Peggy Cotton, a practitioner here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My pronouns are she and her. I like to learn something about my own heritage, my humanity, and spirituality. And so tonight I chose females who are unsung heroes to talk about in this topic of choosing possibility. As I started learning about who these women were and who they still are, as they are one with everyone here, excuse me, I learned about myself a bit. The boundaries of what I think I know about myself shift every time. And what remains is a recognition of more curiosity, more expectancy, more evidence of oneness. So when I first saw this topic title, Choosing Possibility, I started thinking about the word choosing and possibility, but I thought of them separately, and I went to Webster's dictionary just to see if I could sense or see or feel something different. So according to Webster, choosing is to select freely and after consideration, to decide on, especially by voting sometimes. It means to have a preference for. That's interesting. Choosing, to have a preference for, to decide. And possibility. What is possibility? Well, Webster's, again, I went there. Webster says possibility is the condition or fact of being possible, one's utmost power, capacity, or ability, potential or prospective value. Well, in a definition where the root word is possible from possibility, I said, well, let's go back. And what does Webster say about possible? And Webster says, possible, being within the limits of ability, capacity, or realization, being what may be conceived or be done or occur according to nature. It further talked about things that are done according to custom or manners, being something that may or may not be true or actual, having an indicated potential. Well, that felt pretty good, I thought. I said, well, I like to choose something that I can select freely, I can consider, I can definitely have an indicated potential value. Yeah, I like that. Being what may be conceived or done or occur according to nature. And I thought, that's according to my nature. That's according to my spiritual nature. For my human nature is nothing less, anyhow. It is my spiritual nature. And I thought about how I get in the habit of thinking what I know. I base some of my actions upon choices I make that are based upon what I already know. I don't think about that I know it. I just act upon it. So it is habitual. And I said, well, what does Emerson say? Because I thought about how he often kind of clears away some of the cobwebs of what's crossing my mind. He especially delved into this action of choosing and what it truly means in his essay on self-reliance. And whether we think about it or not, we choose to make decisions based upon our choices a million times a day, all the time. We choose to look left or right. We choose to stand up, sit down, and on and on. So Emerson states, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. This quote really encapsulates the idea that when you commit to a course of action, you set in motion a series of events that align with your decision. It suggests that the universe, or I like to call the forces of life, will support your choices and help you achieve your goals. Further supporting this idea of choice and self-reliance, Emerson wrote, to believe your own thought, to believe that what is true for you in your private heart of hearts is true for all men, and that is genius. You know, when we believe, we take that first step towards knowing. For believing is not knowing. I know without believing that my heart is beating right now. I know that. I know that my eyes are seeing. I know it. I'm not having to believe that. So this quote emphasizes the importance of trusting your own intuition and your inner voice, and in believing in your unique perspective. It suggests that true genius lies in the courage to embrace your own thoughts and beliefs and to act upon them, knowing that as you do, God is manifesting them through you. That's what's going on all the time, in every which way. For the inherent goodness of humanity and the importance of intuition and individual experience is what we must rely upon ourselves to know. They encouraged individuals, the transcendentalists, I'm thinking of Emerson's philosophy of transcendentalism. They encourage individuals to trust themselves and to follow their own path rather than relying on external authority or societal norms. And so, in essence, Emerson's quotes on choice underscore the power of individual agency and the belief that we are the architects of our own lives. By making conscious decisions and trusting our intuition and embracing our unique perspectives, we can shape our own destinies and we can create the lives that we truly desire. We can do that. It has to do, in my mind, my viewpoint is it has to do with really understanding the power within and depending upon it. Really recognizing the truth that the power of God works through you as you always. Stepping away from doing things that you know already you are comfortable with. So getting uncomfortable and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and trying things that you've never tried before. Why not? There's nothing to lose. There's only things to gain. Nothing to worry about. Ernest Holmes says, we do not worry or even notice sometimes that whatever we choose to do in one moment, we often choose differently the next. It's not just a matter of our prerogative to do that, but rather it is driven by the inherent creative force that comes from within as we co-create with spirit. We see or sense or feel, recognizing that something within guides or directs our choice to choose again and again, right? It's directing us to choose again and again. And yet, even with that recognition, we cannot rest on our laurels, but rather we must focus on making conscious choices that allow us to experience the power of the law that flows through our thoughts and therefore into our words. When we engage in the action of thinking, Ernest says that something happens to thought. Something happens to thought. The field through which thought operates is infinite. It's infinite. I even wondered if the thinking still happens when the body goes away. Is the thinking part of the human body, or is it part of the spirit? That's a question I often ask myself. But Ernest says there is no reason to doubt that something happens to thought. And the field through which that thought operates is, in fact, infinite, and there's no reason to doubt it, no matter how it is approached. To thought, there can be no limit, because it is the nature of being to react. It is the nature of being to react. We are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this good is ours? All of it. There's enough to go around. There's an abundance. It's endless. It's bottomless. It's everywhere in every way. And how much of it may we have to use as much of it as we can embody. That's earnest. So to consciously choose possible opens my mind and heart to thoughts beyond the current experience I might be having, beyond the current familiar launching pad that I didn't anticipate or expect, or achieving my expectations, not just in a way I imagined, perhaps beyond my comfort level. Not just what I imagine. I don't imagine being uncomfortable. I have the option to choose again, right then, to shift to a consciousness of play rather than shifting back to what I think I know, rather than anything else, just shifting my consciousness to play. Boundless and limitless play. So tonight, I want to talk about two unsung heroines, how possibility shaped their lives. The first one is Bessie Margolin, a lawyer. Before there was the notorious RGB, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, there was the audacious Bessie Margolin, who was raised in New Orleans Jewish orphanage, where she grew up with more than 150 other needy Jewish children from throughout the South. In part due to the small size and the generosity of the New Orleans Jewish community, the home where all these children lived was unusually among institutions of its kind at that time. And although the assimilated German Jews of the community were not without condescension toward their Eastern European immigrant co-religionists, the home was no Dickensian orphanage either. Well, not content to provide its wards mere subsistence, the home's trustees groomed Bessie as an all-American girl who would reflect honorably on the local Jewish community and emulate the values and culture of her prosperous benefactors. Exposed to spiritual leaders who promoted progressive reforms to address root causes of poverty, Bessie's childhood was informed by the pursuit of success and social justice. Right then and there in her childhood. A gifted student, Margolin graduated from Newman School in 1925 as a 16-year-old leader who was comfortable competing and winning and winning respect in a co-ed setting. Margolin was valedictorian and won a scholarship to New Orleans Newcomb College, the women's coordinate college of Tulane University. After 2 years at Newcomb, she ranked among the top 10 in her class. But audacious Bessie Margolin wanted more. There's that inner voice talking to her about stepping out of her known zone. She was listening. You know, it brings to mind, Mark Nepo described listening this way. And he said, the question under all of this is how do we listen to and stay in conversation with all that is beyond our awareness? The way we think and feel and sense our way into all we don't know is the act of intuition. It is an art of discovery. To intuit means to look upon, to instruct from within, to understand or learn by instinct. And that's what I think she was doing. She was listening in that way. So in the early 1960s, Margolin decided to pursue a federal judgeship. She boldly set her sights on the U.S. Court of Claims or the D.C. Federal Appeals Court, a particularly audacious goal, given that there were then only 2 women federal judges in the entire country and none on either court she wanted. With enthusiastic and influential supporters, Margolin's name was considered by President Lyndon Johnson himself. White House tapes of Johnson's discussions about Margolin recorded his impatient demand that an aide just get that woman's biography over here along with her photo, and his query, what about this Jewish woman of the Court of Claims? What is going on with her? Well, it remains unclear what, if any, role her earlier love affair with her married boss or the ensuing FBI and congressional investigations against her played in Johnson's decision, but she faced other hurdles as well. She was criticized for her clothing as being flamboyant and criticized for her age. She was 58 at the time. That seemed to tend to preclude her from consideration for the job. But by 1968, Margolin had been passed over for 7 federal judicial vacancies on those 2 courts alone, all filled by men far older than she was. I asked myself, well, what happened to her sense of play, of possibility? Did possibility change course? Did self-doubt slip in? Or does possibility mean a guarantee of attainment of the goal? Or was Margolin using her skills to continue to play with possibility? Well, the silver lining in Margolin not getting a judgeship is that she remained at the Labor Department, where she developed the strategies for and personally argued the first appeals under the Equal Pay Act of 1963 and the Age Discriminant Employment Act of 1967. By the time she retired as Associate Solicitor of Labor, Margolin had overseen the filing of 300 equal pay lawsuits in 40 states, ultimately recovering millions of dollars for thousands of employees. Confronting the injustice working women faced, Margolin, the self-described reluctant feminist she called herself, had become a founding member of the National Organization of Women, NOW, and was dubbed by a reporter as the nation's #1 fighter for equal pay for women. Incredible. As a case in point, the equal pay case of Schultz versus Wheaton Glass Company, perhaps Margolin's most significant appellate victory, was likened in legal importance to a second Brown versus Board of Education. In that case, after Margolin presented 2 appellate arguments, the Federal Appeals Court interpreted the equal pay law as it remains today. Jobs need only be substantially equal, not identical, to require equal pay. Bessie Margolin rose from New Orleans Jewish orphanage to make her mark on the biggest issues of her day. She defended the constitutionality of FDR's New Deal. She drafted rules for the Nazi war crime trials at Nuremberg. And for more than 3 decades, she championed the Fair Labor Standards Act, ultimately including the Equal Pay Act, which led her to become the founder of NOW. She argued 24 times at the Supreme Court, one of only 3 women to do so in the 20th century, and prevailed in cases associated with 21 of those arguments. While personifying excellence in law and public service, Bessie Margolin opened courtroom doors for countless women who have followed her. Now, Bessie didn't know as she left the orphanage and left the high school and left the college, that she would be the one who would lead the way for women. She was free from human habits of limitations each time she achieved. Howard Thurman saw possibility of a dynamic force, a spark of redemptive possibility that could be tapped into through a deep connection to one's inner self and a commitment to living authentically. His perspective on possibility centers around the inherent potential for growth, transformation, and spiritual awakening within individuals and communities, and even in the face of adversity and oppression. And this is what Bessie Margolis was able to personify. She stepped away from habits. She stepped away from working on in a way that said, I'm going to do what I do because I know this already. No, I don't think so. I think she inspires many even today, right now, because she chose possibility. Really did. I have another woman I want to talk about too. Her name is Claudette Colvin. Maybe some of you know her name already. I didn't know her name. Claudette Colvin is a civil rights activist who, before Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger, she was arrested and became one of 4 plaintiffs in Browder versus Gale, which ruled that Montgomery's segregation bus system was unconstitutional. Colvin later moved to New York City and worked as a nurse's aide, and she retired in 2004. She was only 15 when she got on that bus. She was born on September 5th, 1939, and she was in Montgomery, Alabama. Growing up in one of Montgomery's poorer neighborhoods, Colvin studied hard at school. She earned mostly A's in her class, and she aspired to become president one day. It was March the 2nd, 1955, and Colvin was riding home on a city bus after school when the bus driver told her to give up her seat to a white passenger. She refused, saying, "It's my constitutional right to sit here as much as that lady. I paid my fare. It's my constitutional right." You know, interesting, a 15-year-old talking about her constitutional rights. I don't know if I could do that at 15. But she felt compelled to stand her ground. And there's a wonderful quote here that she says, "I felt like Sojourner Truth was pushing down on one shoulder and Harriet Tubman was pushing down on the other, telling me to sit down, girl. And I was glued to my seat. I couldn't move." After a refusal to give up her seat, Colvin was arrested on several charges, including violating the city's segregation laws. For several hours, she sat in jail, completely terrified. She was really afraid because she says you just didn't know what white people might do at that time. She said after her minister paid her bail, she went home to her family, where she and her family stayed up all night long. They were concerned of possible retaliation. They were concerned of breaking windows, knocking down her door. But she didn't stop there. Think about Ernest now. Ernest his he comes across my mind at so many different moments. Ernest said, "We do not permit our consciousness to range in the field of greater possibilities. A certain time should be taken each day for the engagement of consciousness. This is done by reminding our imagination that the field with which it deals is limitless, that mind is the creator and the sustainer, that mind is infinite, ever available, and always responsive to us." Colvin's mind was filled with moving forward. It was filled with, let me keep my family safe. It was filled with recognizing the power of God was in her. Whether she knew what to do at that time, we have no record of how she felt beyond that. But the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, briefly considered using Colvin's case to challenge the segregation laws, but they decided against it because of her age. She also had become pregnant, and they thought an unwed young mother would attract way too much attention. That would be negative in a public legal battle. And so that's why we know more about Rosa Parks rather than Colvin. In court, Colvin opposed the segregation law by declaring herself not guilty. "I'm not guilty," she said. The court, however, ruled against her and put her on probation. Despite the light sentence, Colvin could not escape the court of public opinion. The once quiet student was branded a troublemaker by some, and she had to drop out of college. Her reputation always also made it impossible for her to find a job. Despite her personal challenges, though, Colvin became one of the 4 plaintiffs in the Browder versus Gale case, along with Aurelia S. Browder, Susie McDonald, and Mary Louise Smith. Janetta Reese, who was initially named a plaintiff in the case, withdrew early on due to some outside pressure of public. The decision in the 1956 case, which had been filed by Fred Gray and Charles Langford on behalf of the aforementioned African-American women, ruled that Montgomery's segregated bus system was, in fact, unconstitutional. 2 years later, Colvin moved to New York, and she stayed there. She retired in 2004. You know, the legacy Claudette Colvin leaves behind is really still touching me. Much of the writing on civil rights history in Montgomery has focused on the arrest of Rosa Parks, another woman who refused to give up her seat 9 months after Claudette Colvin did. I keep wanting to call her Coleman, sorry. While Parks had been heralded as a civil rights heroine, Claudette Colvin's story has received little notice. Some have tried to change that. Rita Dove penned the poem Claudette Colvin Goes to Work, which later became a song. And Philip, who also wrote about her in the young adult biography, Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice. While her role in the fight to end segregation in Montgomery may not be widely recognized, Claudette Colvin helped advance civil rights efforts in the city. She gave all of us moral courage. If she had not done what she did, I'm not sure that we would have been able to mount the support for Rosa Parks. I'm not sure about that. Colvin was quoted as saying, I knew, and I guess this was printed in Newsweek magazine. She says, I knew then and I know now that when it comes to justice, there is no easy way to get it. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, this is just not right. That's just another powerful woman in the world who have left their mark so that it is a better world for everyone. So here's what I've shared tonight. The audacious, the possible, the co-creator lawyer, Bessie Margolin, raised in the Jewish orphanage, criticized for age and appearance, describes herself as a reluctant feminist who confronted injustice, became the founder of Now, argued for equal pay for women, thank you, a law that remains today, stating jobs need only be substantially equal, not identical, to require equal pay. And Claudette Colvin, the possible, the audacious, the conscious thinker, 15 years old, civil rights activist, who refused to ignore her inner voice, who refused to give up her bus seat, who challenged her old pattern of behavior, who chose to be possible over and again. Claudette's mind stayed on possible while in jail and at home, fearing retaliation, and most poignantly, in the court of public opinion. Colvin was the spark that ignited the invisible into the visible, the ruling that Montgomery's segregated bus system was unconstitutional. And as it was done in Montgomery, so it is done everywhere in the United States today. So possibility, choosing possibility. I invite you to ponder some of these thoughts on choosing possibility and take it away to think about. What is possibility? I say possibility is being. Where does it come from? What is its purpose? Is possibility when there's no action taken? Is it still possibility then? Is it still possibility when the destination is not reached or when it is reached? Is it still possibility? Is possibility all about the journey? All about the manifestation of the goal? Does there have to be an aha moment to choose possibility? Listening plays a significant role in choosing possibility. How will you choose to embrace possibility beyond your familiar knowledge base, starting right now? I want to thank you for listening. I so appreciated that. I liked learning and sharing. And I am now complete. Thank you. And Judith is going to step up now and talk to us. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you. You introduced two women that I had no knowledge of. And I am very grateful to know about them, and thank you for bringing them into our awareness. Really, really interesting women. So thank you for that. Peggy, did you have any, we don't have we have a little bit of time. Did you want to have any questions and answers or anything like that?
If I would love to hear if any comments people have, any questions they may have about either of these women. I wanted to pose these questions at the end about some thoughts I've had along my journey of talking about choosing possibility. And so if anybody has any ideas about what is possibility, um, where does it come from? What is its purpose kind of thing, that if they feel so moved to speak, um, come on, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm happy to or something that was coming up for me was around the realm of possibilities. You never know how your actions can impact others. And even though, Culver wasn't maybe as remembered as much as Rosa Parks, even still her impact was felt throughout history. And you can always influence other people, and yeah, you just never know the impact you have in that realm of possibility.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, how could she have known? I didn't talk a whole lot about what her life was like later, but it changed her life completely. She really had difficulty getting work. She did move to New York. She had a son at first, and she ended up not finishing up her education because of the stress and the indignities that were put upon her, but she never stopped. She taught her sons to move forward too, and you're so right. We don't know what effect. I'm sure she did. I mean, I'm sure she didn't think about it after she got out of harm's way. She always wanted to move to New York, and so she did. She enjoyed that. She became worked as a nurse's aide at a Manhattan nursing home, and she loved it. And so she retired there.
Hmm.
She said that was her calling, um, to be a nurse's, to work as a nurse's aide, because it was fulfilling for her.
Hmm.
Very fascinating woman.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to your big, good presentation and to your question about what is possibility, I think for me, it involves at least two elements. There's always the element of passion, that in order to pursue an ultimate possibility, you have to have a passion about what it is you're going to pursue. But the other element I think has to be overcome in the process of doing that is fear. Because sometimes what you might have a passion to do, it may bring with it risk, as it did in the case of Coben, in terms of what she did, as well as Margolis. But if you've got passion for something that you want to do, and you can stay with it in spite of the possible fear of the consequences, I think those two elements are kind of form the base of it. And I also appreciate your introducing us to those two. I had heard of Colvin before, but not in some of the dimensions that you added. So thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for that. Yes. Yeah, fear of I is totally on my list of what has to happen on the human side. We have to understand what fear is for sure. And I love the acronym of false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And the fact that both of these women, both Claudette Colvin and Bessie Margolin, could overcome that to move forward anyway, is impressive. And I think that is a key to inspiring us that to move forward in our own lives and to just be fulfilled, dare to be fulfilled,
Yeah,
dare to be fulfilled in spite of whatever the false evidence appearing real that seems to be in the way.
yeah, I agree.
Thank you for that, Larry.
Reverend Sunshine, go ahead.
Excuse my camera for being off. I'm in the kitchen. But I put in the chat when I was listening to you, Peggy. Thank you for your presentation. I was thinking about one of my favorite Christmas movies, The Jingle Jangle Christmas Story. And it just has so many lovely one-liners and songs and different things that are metaphysical. And I looked it up, and there's the song Square Root of Possible. And it says in there, is it possible that the square root of impossible is me? And so it kind of reminded me of what we were talking about in the pre-service, and y'all have heard me talk about the knower within me knows, the divine knower within me knows, and the divine knower within us is that infinite possibility. And as we open up to it and lean into it, that possibility, when we're curious about it and lean in with curiosity and wonderment, then we open that portal and that channel to be in co-creation with spirit so that it can download through us. And that possibility comes through creativity, through ideas, through whatever, through Gramio's holy boldness, through, the possibility might scare the life out of us. However, we know that we can do it, because we know the knower within that is the impossible and the possible. So anyway, thought I'd add that in there.
No, thank you, Rev.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
That was a perfect conclusion, don't you think, Peggy, to your question?
I thought it was perfect. Yes, of
Perfect.
course.
Before we move on to announcements, thank you, Reverend Sunshine. That was just it's just perfect. So
Yeah,
I would
you
like,
have Maureen's hand up, though. I know
oh,
you're
is
at time,
Maureen
but
hand
maybe
up?
she can speak it quickly.
Yes, Maureen, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
I can. I was just going to chime in and say, boy, oh boy, that sounds like the highest case scenario to me. We got to make sure that we're in alignment with the one power that is all that is sustaining us, and making sure that we aren't distracted by the fear and by the other things that get in the way of our not choosing the path that we're supposed to be on. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Peggy. What you talked about the judicial stuff informs my work as well. So thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. I was informed also and inspired by some of the reminders that you talked about on Sunday about principle. And so thank you too. And yes, the knower in us knows. And I don't know who said it, maybe Reverend, who said, and maybe Jude, somebody knows who said, move ahead in fear. Move through fear. It's not real anyway. I don't know who said, I added that part on it's not real anyway, but there is somebody out there who some literary person who said move ahead in or through fear. And I think that's a wonderful way to begin, because once I have to speak from the I, because once I start moving ahead in or through fear, I tap into the knower in me knows that all is well. All is well. So thank you everyone for listening and for your comments.
Yes, thank you. And we'll move now into our announcements. I think we're going to go a little bit over time, so I hope you can stay for the announcements. If not, we understand. And Peter, can you bring up the first slide? Okay. So this Sunday, February 2nd, Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman will be speaking on emptiness, the wonder of interbeing. Meditation starts at 10, followed by service at 10:30. And on Wednesday, February 5th, at our midweek oasis, Shirley Strong, Master of Education and Master of Arts, please join her for an encore conversation on the topic emptiness, the wonder of interbeing, the same topic. Meditation is at 6:30 as it was tonight and every Sunday, and the service will begin at 7 by Zoom. Our daily readers for 2025 are 365 Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes and 365 Inspirational Daily Guides to Grateful Living by Deborah Perdue. Please join us. The Season for Nonviolence convenes January 30th through April 4th for 64 days, commemorating the anniversaries of the deaths of Mohandas Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Pick up your daily affirmations at the front table of the sanctuary. So these start, this is the 29th, so this starts tomorrow. Next slide. The OCSL Social Justice Ministry will be meeting February 2nd in the social hall from 1 to 3. Join us in sacred activism to create a world that works for everyone. Next slide. The 6-week Women's Spiritual Empowerment Group continues with another session on February 2nd after service from 1 to 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. All are welcome to join this lively discussion. And the Social Justice Ministry is hosting a movie viewing of the 6888 for Black History Month. Join us on Saturday, February 15th from 3 to 6 p.m. in the social hall. And I want to put in a word for this movie. Reverend Sunshine mentioned this movie from the pulpit one Sunday, and that week I had 2 other people highly recommend this movie. So I watched it, and it is fabulous. It is fabulous in its history that we really didn't know, just like the Hidden Figures. You know, it's a wonderful movie. So I recommend everybody come to this. And I will probably see it for a second or third time. Okay, now our next announcement. Join us on February 16th during our Sunday service for our commitment ceremony. Commit, recommit as an individual, a couple, specific family, or community. More details coming soon. Next slide. And save the date. Our OCSL 80th anniversary gala celebration is September 19th through 21st, 2025. Other events will also be held throughout the year. So stay tuned for more information coming soon. Our nonprofit partner for January and February 2025 is the Oakland Literacy Coalition. They believe that learning and liberation depend on literacy, and all children and families should have the support they need to learn to read. We view our work as pulling on 4 key levers to impact reading outcomes for children in Oakland. Visit oaklandliteracycoalition.org for more information. And the Spirit Treasure Bookstore celebrates the new year with 30% off all books, including children books and card boxes, and there are gifts for under $10. Visit the 30% off holiday table. And please visit our website at oaklandcsl.org and sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Village News. Remember to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates. Like and subscribe to the Oakland Center today. and visit csl.org to see what's happening within our Centers for Spiritual Living global organization. And now I'd like to highlight our key people at Oakland at Oakland Center. Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman is our senior minister and is with us here tonight. Our Ministry of Prayer co-lead is Megan Lemon, a practitioner here. And also Ministry of Prayer co-lead is Maureen French. And I believe both of them are with us in the meeting tonight. Beth Van Arkel is our board president. Steve Carter is our operations coordinator, and he prepares all the materials for our Wednesday night Oasis. Susan Brecker is a practitioner, alumnus practitioner at Oakland Center and is our facility usage coordinator. And Dow Brecker is our bookkeeper. So I want to thank all of them for the great service they do and the work they do to keep our center thriving and running smoothly. And with that, let's go to the next slide, Peter. I just want to open us up to our joyous giving and invite you to say with me, you can mute yourself, but say with me this affirmation. I freely give what I have, and the divine source multiplies it in return. And so it is. So we have many ways to support this center. If you feel inspired to offer support financially, you can go to our website at oaklandcsl.org and click on the donate button. And you'll see many ways that you can give. You can contribute through Zelle, you can contribute through QR code, you can text your donation. You can come to the center in person and offer a donation in an offering basket, and you can mail a check in. Any gifts of any amount are welcome and appreciated. So thank you in advance for anything that you feel inspired to contribute. And I want to thank everybody who has participated in our service tonight. The first person that you met, if you were in the meeting, was Freddie Lambert III. Freddie led our meditation tonight, and he is going to be serving as an interim AV support person for these Wednesday nights. So I want to thank Freddie for your support and for being here tonight and leading the meditation. I want to thank Peggy, our speaker, for her beautiful talk tonight and also for leading us in the opening prayer. I want to thank Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman for just being here and supporting us, and also Reverend Elena Hutchinson, who's also a host. She and I host every other Wednesday night. She wasn't here tonight, but she is one of our key people for Oasis. And I want to thank Peter. Of course, Peter, this is Peter's last evening with us as our AV Oasis lead. Peter has been our lead for many years and has run our PowerPoints and has always been on hand, reliable, just a wonderful, wonderful servant, a sacred servant in our Wednesday night meeting. So Peter, thank you, and we wish you all the best with whatever it is you are doing next, whatever you're called to next. And we hope that you come back to visit on Wednesday nights. Please don't be a stranger. And I also want to thank Alice Herndon, who's done our spotlighting and muting. And Alice, I think you may be rolling off as well. Maybe you can confirm that later. going to the AV team for Sundays. But we want to thank you also for all of the service you've been giving for a very long time on these Wednesday nights. Thank you. I want to thank Steve Carter, who is our, as I said earlier, he's our administration assistant here with Oakland, and he is providing all of the materials for our Wednesday nights, including our PowerPoint. And again, I want to thank Freddie again for being here. He's learning tonight. He's shadowing so that he can step in next week and fill those big shoes of Peter's. And so now Peter has also offered to lead us in our closing prayer tonight. So Peter, I'd like to turn this over to you for to close us out.
Thank you, Judith. Oh, just take a breath with me, taking in that breath of God, that breath we share, that one source that we know, that gives us that strength, that courage, that gives us that nudge when we have those possibilities that come up for us. And I'm knowing that recognition is always there with us, that spirit and that relationship. And I'm so thankful for the opportunities that Peggy outlined today through these courageous women and the things that they did in their lives, that they be inspiration for us to see what we can do in our lives to inspire and serve. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that we all have and the ways that we do step up, that we are representing spirit out in the world with other people. And I'm so grateful for all of the things that we are going to be doing, knowing that we can say yes to those opportunities. And with that, I'm so grateful, and knowing that all of this is done and real and complete. And please say with me, and so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. And so I just
And
take
so
over the
it
mic.
is.
Take over the mic for just a second. And I know that we're at overtime, but if you're willing, please extend your hands to the screen intended for Peter.
Yes.
And let us bless Peter. Just extend your hands and say, Peter, you can say it out loud. You can take yourself off mute too. It's going to be a cacophony, but that's okay. Peter,
Peter,
we love you.
we love you.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate all your service over these years.
We appreciate all your service over the years
Oakland Center for Spiritual Living.
at
Thank
the
you so much.
Oakland Center for Spiritual Living.
Oh,
We know
So,
that whoever you land with in Portland,
wherever you land in
wherever in
Portland,
Portland,
wherever you land
in spiritual community,
in your spiritual community
is blessed abundantly to have you.
is blessed abundantly to have you. We love
More
you,
than
Peter.
God.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And we thank God for
We
you.
thank God
Yes.
for you.
Yay.
God for you.
And we just love
Amen.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Yes.